Hello, everyone. My name is Trish McCabe, and welcome to Conversations from the School of Hard Knocks. This is a podcast where people from all walks of life will be sharing their stories and the wisdom they have gained from their life experiences. In no way is this show offering any kind of advice or counsel. These conversations will be of a very sensitive nature, so please be respectful in your comments, and thank you for watching. Hello, everyone. My name is Trish, and welcome to Conversations from the School of Hard Knocks. Today, I have my guest, Anna, to join me again. Hi, Anna.
Hi, Trish. How are you?
I'm doing great. Happy to be here
Good.
again.
Yes, always an honor.
Yes. Today, we are going to discuss adult children of alcoholics and substance abusers surviving living with a narcissist. And of course, with our talks and everything, I want the viewers to know that Anna actually is living with her abuser. And so we're going to go into that today and talk about all the variables and just take it, every issue you want to talk about, Anna. So I wanted to start with the question, what is the most challenging thing living with an abuser for you? Living with your abuser, narcissist.
Um, well, for me, the most challenging thing is knowing that I'm not going to have a normal father-daughter relationship because there's just there's no relationship there. There can't be. Um, I tried at a really young age to live up to his expectations and be who he wanted me to be. I didn't get anywhere. It's also hard, you know, knowing that I could come in, any day after work and he could be just totally in a rampage mode. And I already know I'm going to be first target because I have been my entire life. And he knows that he can get my goat because unfortunately I love him. um, but I'd have to say the father daughter, aspect of it is the hardest because I don't get to come home and have those conversations that most fathers and daughters get to have. I don't have a close relationship. I don't get to go, on father daughter dates. When I got married, I didn't get to have a father daughter dance because he didn't even want to be there, because it was my wedding. So I would have to say that is the hardest part. And, just having to deal every day with the abuse and knowing that it's still there, even with me, being an adult.
That's got to be really hard. I'm really close with my dad, so that's got to be really difficult. My heart goes out to you, and kudos to you for, working your way through healing from your past with him while you're living with him. That's takes some incredible strength.
Definitely is not for the faint of heart. I mean, of course, my situation, I don't have the ability to get out right now. I'm working towards it. And I do know that there are plenty of other people that are out there that are in my same situation. But anybody who has the ability to get out, I would recommend get out because it makes the healing that much easier because you get out of that and you get to start paying attention to your own emotions without having to worry about this other person just coming in like a spider monkey on your back and going, you know, but you can still, survive living in the situation. It's totally possible. It's just a little bit harder.
I was looking at some of our notes of various situations that come up when you're living with a narcissist family member, particularly. And I know there are, in my experience, the narcissists will use family members for their gain, to help them attack you, so to speak, under the
Mhm.
radar, though covertly. You had told a story about a situation with your daughter, and then your father
Mhm.
got involved, and
Mhm.
out came this situation that you had to deal with.
Yeah. Um,
What
she
was that?
was she was doing homework, and she's a teenager, so she procrastinated too long. And she was getting very frustrated and she was yelling at me. So I simply got up and I just said, you know what? If you're going to treat me like this, I'm going to let you sit here and I'm going to let you figure it out on your own. I'm in my room whenever you're ready to come and talk to me normally. And I got up and I went in my room. She just kind of sat in the dining room crying. Um, and he came out there, the butt end of it, and asked her why she was crying. And, she told him, and he came in there and pretty much was like, "You're psychologically screwing this child up because you're not helping her, blah blah blah, this that and the other." And she got to hear all of the argument, unfortunately. And I mean, he's screaming at the top of his lungs.
Hmm.
I calmly pretty much told him about himself, as calmly as I could have. And I told him, I said, one, I'm not a child. You don't get to talk to me like that. I said, two, she's my daughter. I should be able to discipline her how I see fit. And I said, technically, this is not a discipline. This is just me walking away from the situation because it wasn't going to have a great outcome. We were just going to sit there and argue. And I said, three, you don't get to sit there and tell me when I'm psychologically screwing somebody up when you won't even address what you did with me when I was a kid. Oh, he went left. Oh, he went left.
Oh boy, what did he
Um,
say? Curious.
I'm going to be honest with you.
It's
At
kind
this
of a
point,
blur.
yeah, it's kind of a blur because he just starts yelling and screaming, and I kind of get to the point where I tune him out for the most part. For the most part, there are quite a number of times that he's gotten my goat and I've partaken in the yelling match. But I pretty much looked at him. I said, I'm not doing this. I'm going outside. And, he continued to yell. And when I got back in there, he was berating my child because she wasn't doing her homework or anything like that. So then I walked in there and I told him, you don't get to sit here and yell at her like this. This is her choice. She made this choice. She procrastinated when she knew 3 weeks ago that she had this assignment. So this is her responsibility. Oh, and that started another fight. And I just simply looked at him. I said, I'm not doing this. And I walked outside. At that point, my mom jumped into it because, my mom sees it for what it is now. She didn't get to see a lot of it when I was younger. Um, but she sees a lot of it now. And she kind of took over and they continued the argument. Of course, when everything had calmed down, I went in there to go check on my daughter to, see if I could help her and we could talk about it in an adult way. Um, but I mean, now most of the time I choose not to partake.
Yeah, I see from the outside looking in that, okay, first he attacked you,
Hmm.
and then when that didn't work, he tried to use your daughter. Well, first he tried to use like your daughter against you, or use her
Hmm.
feelings to, he sided with her against you. And then when that didn't work, he attacked her to get you mad, thus getting
Hmm.
you mad again and getting attention from you. So he tried every angle. Now he's got your mom involved, so
Yeah.
this is how they work. They
Yeah.
try to find your sensitive spot any way that they can, you know, poke at you, get a
Absolutely.
rise out of you, like say, get your goat. They'll look for
Absolutely.
any way in the situation. So first he's like defending your daughter, and then he's attacking your daughter. I mean, that just
Hmm.
shows that that's how they work. They'll just find any area where they know they can get your goat, basically. I see
Absolutely.
that from the outside looking in. What do you
Absolutely.
that?
No, I completely agree. I mean, because that's, when I was a kid, I was the one that got the brunt of it, and now that my daughter, is in the picture, I mean, there are so many times that I can't, that I was told that I can't discipline her, but yet you can discipline her. You know what I mean? It's okay for you to discipline her, but Lord forbid if I, because I do believe in corporal punishment, but I've never abused her. I've spanked her, when she was younger. I can, I can't spank her, but you sure can. Um,
Right.
I can't ground
Oh,
her.
well, the narcissist is always a double standard thing. And
Absolutely.
many times they'll accuse you of the very thing that they've been doing. Oh, but it's
Hmm.
different for them, That's
Yeah.
the minute you call them out. Oh,
Oh yeah.
it's
Oh
on,
yeah.
I
And
have a family
that's,
member that you know, whose husband is this way, whose wife, I'm sorry, whose wife is this way. And I do, it's a very difficult situation having a relationship with my family member
hmm
married to this person that is exactly like your father, just always looking for a way to create
drama.
problems for me,
Yeah.
you know. So I identify with so much, but I don't live with them. See, now I don't think I could do that. So I think, like I said before, you just have incredible strength. I mean, if you can do this, this is like alchemy to the 10th power, of
It's either extreme
working with
strength
it.
or extreme masochism. I mean, given the day,
Yeah.
I don't know
You
which one it is,
question. Oh, yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes. Oh my
But yeah,
gosh.
no, I mean, and that's the way most of the fights go, now that I'm older. Most of the time it's because of the way I discipline my child because he, I do work. I do try to pull my own load the best that I can. Um, it's not like I'm just sitting over here buying frivolous things. They're not having to pay my bills. I'm even helping them pay some of their bills because that's the way it's supposed to work. Um,
Teamwork makes
and
the dream work.
absolutely. So it's not like he
Yeah.
has a lot to sit here and argue about because even though I had her at 17, I got pregnant with her at 17. I still, you know, I didn't go out and party. I was working. I, I was doing what I needed to do. So disciplining my daughter is really the only thing he has other than the little nitpicky stuff.
Okay, the nitpicky stuff. You had said when we talked a bit before the show that you had some examples
Hmm.
of what you
Hmm.
go through
Yeah.
living with him.
So one time I was getting ready to go to work, and I was making me something to eat before I went to work. And I had already been cooking, and he came in and just immediately, started working in the kitchen on his lunch. Cool, no big deal. But where we lived at before, we had a small kitchen. And, when I said, "Excuse me, Pops," just to grab my food, oh, he immediately gave me attitude. He immediately huffed his breath, and I was the bad guy. And he got upset because he had to move. Um, there was another situation. My mom had gone to go get dinner. It was her time to buy dinner, and we wanted to get dinner out. So she had gone to a couple of places to try to get him food, and none of the places that he wanted to go to were open. So she called me, and I went in there. He didn't realize she was on the phone. And I went in there and I told him, I said, "The places that you're wanting to go are not open. Do you want her to just get you a burger?" "Ah, fine. Just get me a burger then." And he just started giving me attitude. And when he figured out that my mom was on the phone, his whole attitude completely changed. And
Hmm.
he just acted like she wasn't even there. And he acted like he wasn't even mean or upset or anything like that. Um, I mean, there are several different scenarios. I mean, if I wake up and my daughter and I, before COVID, if I had a little bit of extra money and we wanted to just go putz around town, I'd get dressed. on Saturday, she'd get dressed and we'd go, and I'd tell him, look, we're going, we'll be back after a while. It's not like I'm out running the roads, in a bad way. I'm just out there building memories with my daughter. I'm doing things with her. Oh, no, I know he'd start a fight because I was going out and doing something with her. It's little nitpicky things that I literally cannot win, and I'm never good enough. If I get a promotion at work or whatever, or I get a new job, he doesn't care. The only time he cares, the only time he got upset was when I got laid off or if I ever got fired. And then I was just the worst person in the world because I could never amount to anything. So, I mean, it's just, we could go on for hours with the stories that I've got. And it's ridiculous. I mean, it's like I said, we don't communicate. I don't share any more information than I have to. I don't talk to him. It's bye pops, or I'm running to the store. Do you need something? Or, it's just very minimal conversation because I already know how it's going to end. He's either going to use it against me in that moment, or he's going to hold on to it and use it against me at a later date.
Yeah. One thing you had said, there's still that trying to live up to their expectations, and that it's very difficult when you realize you're not going to win.
Oh, absolutely.
It's never going to happen kind of thing. That's difficult. That's got to be extremely, you want that love. That's a normal thing for you to want your parent to love you and give you encouragement and support. And so it's got to be just go against the nature of having to deal with the reality that that's not going to happen. Yeah. How do you deal with that part of it? When you feel that way, like disappointment
I haven't felt disappointment where he is concerned in quite a number of years because I quit trying to live up to his expectations, and when I catch myself trying to live up to his expectations, I'm going, wait a minute, hold up. He doesn't matter. The only expectations that I have to live up to are my own. So, I still have to check myself, but, I don't let it affect me the way I used to when I was younger. And that is honestly where my codependency patterns stem from, trying to live up to everybody else's expectations, because I'm constantly trying to live up to this person who was supposed to love and care for me and give me that unconditional love. I was, I was looking for it in everybody else. So, I mean, in the past, the way I dealt with it was I would literally just write everything down. But at some point, I had to step back and go, wait a minute, hold up. Why am I so concerned with what he thinks? He can't even figure himself out,
Yeah, right. And you had mentioned understanding that, I suppose the understanding that he didn't get, he
wasn't born that way.
Learned these traits by being raised by a narcissist or influenced by a narcissist in his family unit. You said he's never talked with anything about that, but that you do know that that's where it comes from. And I suppose that helps you to realize it's not as personal as it feels, that it's more like, this is all he knows.
Yeah, you're right.
Capable, because that's the way they were raised, and damaged, I would imagine, from being raised that way. So they can't give it to anyone.
No, they can't give it to anyone because they don't know how.
They don't know how,
adopted.
right.
He and his brother were adopted by family, but they were still adopted. And he doesn't talk about his biological parents. I don't know their real names. I don't know anything other than what I've heard from my mother because of speaking to my grandmother. But, the fact that he won't even address, the things that he's gone through, that just, it's a reminder that he's human just like I am. He's damaged just like I am. The difference is he hasn't addressed it. So that's why it comes out the way it does. And he doesn't know how to address it. And he go ahead.
And you can see, well, because at some point you realize there's a pattern in all of this, and how it gets passed down from generation to generation, these behaviors
Absolutely.
and ways of dealing with things. And so when you saw that pattern in yourself, then you were able to see it in him, and how that you and how you can, well, basically put an end to it. The cycle starts, the ending of that cycle starts with you, that you're
Basically, yeah.
now starting to make these changes with your daughter. And
Yeah.
we
I mean,
can talk about
unfortunately,
that. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
and no, I was going to say, I mean, unfortunately, there are some, I picked up some of those narcissistic tendencies because,
Me too. To
I didn't know any
protect
better.
yourself.
Yeah, I didn't know any better. And I thought it was normal. And I was, just trying to protect myself, like you said. And she picked up a lot of narcissistic traits from me, just from watching my reactions and how I reacted to certain situations. So now I'm trying to correct those cycles, and
that's got to be hard because he does it too.
Yeah.
So that's probably influencing her as well.
She's a teenager, so she has that mindset, monkey see, monkey do. Well, if this person's doing it, why can't I? And she's a teenager. So, I mean, some days I feel like I'm beating my head up against the wall, but other days I feel like I'm making progress. It's touch and go with her, just like it's touch and go with me.
And this comes down to something you mentioned, boundaries of, like,
Yes.
you had mentioned something, yeah, just boundaries in general is what you learn that you didn't do with your dad when you were young, because you weren't aware of it. So now that you're aware of it, you're starting to put those boundaries up, and she's seeing that, and that's probably really helpful to her.
It is because she's realizing that, you can tell people no. You can tell people, I don't feel comfortable doing this. You can tell people basically what's on your mind. Whether they hear it or not is a different story, but you can express to them certain things, and boundaries are extremely important in life in general, but they're especially important when you're living with the abuser and the narcissist.
Because the boundary is loving yourself. It's protecting yourself, honoring yourself first, what you're comfortable with, what you're not comfortable with. And
absolutely.
That's how you break the cycle. And if you're doing that, which I know you are, and we'll talk more about that in the next segment, of just, you can tell people, but to actually put it into action and put that boundary up, that just shows them what it looks like to love yourself and honor yourself. Like, I think you had mentioned before, where, like, sometimes your daughter will come to you and you're just spent. You don't have it to give. And
I mean, there are, I mean, I go to school, I work a full-time job, I'm a full-time mom, and I live at home with my abuser. Some days when I get off of work, I just have to come in and I have to completely shut down, just because I need to recharge my batteries. And, she's a teenager, so she wants to talk. And I mean, there are just some days that I'm just like, baby, I love you, but I just can't tonight. We can chat tomorrow, because if I'm not in a healthy place for me, I'm not going to be any good to anybody else. I can't be 100% for my daughter if I'm not in a healthy place mentally. And
that's doing that across the
board.
You're in your living situation. And that is, like you had said, you make sure to close your door, and
I do. I close
space, and
I close my door for about an hour. And I just kind of make sure that, I'm already comfortable, that I don't have to get up and go eat anything. And I just kind of sit here. You can call it meditating, you can call it reflecting, you can call it chilling, whatever you want to. But I just kind of sit, and I sit in the quiet, basically, for about an hour. I just hear the noise of my fan going, because, going through what we've gone through, you already have those voices in the back of your
So
head.
much
And then,
chatter, yes, in your
uh-huh.
mind.
And then you go to work and you have chatter at work. And then you come home and you have chatter at home. And I mean, there's even been some weekends, when my family has come up, and I'm just like, I can't today. And I just have to stay in my room because I don't have the energy to partake. So she's learning from watching me that it is okay if you don't have the energy to partake in any kind of situation. You can say no.
I'm busy right now, whatever. Hey, I got a full plate.
Absolutely.
Honor yourself first. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And we had talked about and this, I think the other part, when that happens, is also tied to being an empath, which
Yes.
codependents tend to be very empathetic, and that is overwhelming in itself. And you had said, just like not knowing where that
Yes.
person's energy, feelings are, and what yours feelings are, and that you don't know where they
Absolutely.
begin and you end. And that's where
Even
this is really essential, having that time to diffuse and do that work on, wait, what's mine here?
absolutely. I mean,
Sorry.
even the most aware empath, and for anybody who doesn't know what an empath is somebody who is able to feel other people's emotions on a very intense level, to the point where you can, and often do, take it
Feel
on
it
as your own.
yourself.
Yeah, you
Yes.
take it on as your own. I'm not going to go into any more
Yes.
detail. I leave it to you, to the viewers, to do your own research, because I don't want to put any ideas in anybody's head. But it's very hard, especially when because I can wake up and not even get out of my bed, and him be all the way on the other side of the house.
And you can feel it.
I can just feel it, that it's going to be
The
that kind
vibe.
of day. Just
That
going to be
vibe.
that kind of day, and I just have to lay low, because that's quite often when my daughter and I do go do stuff, is when he's in that type of mood. We will go,
And
and
of
we will
course
get out of
he's
the
going to get
house.
mad because you pull the plug.
Yeah,
You pull the power source, his power
absolutely.
source, and that's you.
Yep.
And your attention in any way, shape, or form. So he's mad because he can't keep you walking around on eggshells. You're aware of that, and so you're removing yourself, which is
I'm
such a
removing
healthy,
myself the
healing
best that I can.
skill.
Yeah.
That's
Yes.
really awesome. That's
I
great.
mean, even though their body language is slightly different than ours, you can still tell by their body language. I mean, I highly recommend, if anybody has the means, but you can't get out, anytime that you're in that situation and you just know that it's going to be that kind of a day, go take a walk, go do something, so that you can be present for yourself.
Go
But
for a drive.
absolutely remove yourself from that situation, because it's better for you in the long run, and it puts up that boundary.
And you're not walking around on eggshells. You're not in an environment
Absolutely.
where that just is so unhealthy and so stressful. I mean, I know when I go to visit this family member and his wife is this way, I dread it, because that's exactly how it is for me. I have to be really careful what I say. I have to have someone there that I can attach myself to so I can avoid her, because she will always say the most inappropriate things she possibly can to make me as uncomfortable as possible. So I can't even imagine living with someone and having to deal with that every day. Well, I can, but not when it's a parent. I think that's a particular difficult one, even on top of everything, because it is a parent figure and all the variables we've discussed. But That's wonderful. So that's one of the things that you do that's
Mm-hmm.
healthy. That's a coping mechanism for you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and you had mentioned in here the power of being present. And I don't
Yes.
want to get ahead of it. I just don't want to forget to mention it if there's
No, no. I mean, that's
any.
all part of it, because the being present in your own life is totally, people don't necessarily view it as a coping mechanism, but it is. It's a survival tactic that you
It's
pretty much have
huge.
to adapt. Most people believe in the concept, and this was something that I had to adapt to change my viewpoint on the situation and get to a healthy mental space while being in this situation. Most people understand the concept of heaven and hell, and that they're two different entities, and that they're already created and they're already there. I had to adapt it to, I create my own heaven and hell,
That's
because
powerful.
I have the choice to wake up and be completely depressed and not want to partake because I'm drained of all my energy, or I have the opportunity to understand that while my situation is not the most ideal situation that I wanted for my life, at this point in my life, that I can still have a good life. I can still work towards things. I can still, I can set goals for myself, but I don't have to worry about looking so far ahead in the future, and I don't have to worry about looking so far in the past. And see, that's where, you know
You get
being
carried away.
present, yeah,
Yes.
you
You
get
get
anxious
if
or
you're
you get depressed.
yes, right, yeah, if you're thinking about the past, then it's not very encouraging in the
No,
moment, and if you're thinking
no,
about the future, well, there's not a whole lot you could do about that either. All you have
it's
is the moment, and when you get mindful of that,
mhm,
you can make a choice. You realize you
absolutely.
have a choice in that moment to and then the other thing about being present that I think is really just and I'm not the best, I'm still working on all of this stuff,
We're all still
is
working on it.
your thoughts. You can
Hmm.
catch your thoughts when you're in the moment, and if they're not serving you, if they're making you feel bad, if you say if it's a thought that's, like, not a good one, like that internal dialogue
You
that we have
Yeah.
going, and it's a attack on ourself. Maybe we're saying something bad about ourself or a judgment or even a
it,
judgment of another person.
yeah.
You're like,
it,
"This is not helping me."
yeah, and you
Right.
get to have that internal communication with yourself, like, okay, wait a
Yes.
minute, why is this, why am I doing this? And that's where you get, which will be in our next segment, but that's where you get to the meat and potatoes of growing in this type of environment. And it's a key survival tactic. It's not easy. Oh my god, it's not
Yes.
easy.
'Cause the patterns were so
They're so
patternistic.
ingrained. They're so
Yeah,
ingrained.
we don't even know a lot of times.
No.
I'll catch myself, "God, I'm doing it again."
Yeah.
Stop that, that's not helping, Trish. You
Yeah.
gotta get off that whatever we can fixate on things, and being in the moment helps you, it helps to get to the nitty-gritty about what that is,
Hmm.
and to be mindful and make that choice to, do the healthier thing, the better thing, and
Absolutely.
all that.
Absolutely. you
Yeah.
know um it it's it's hard because it's ingrained in us to kind of stuff our emotions,
Oh,
but you
that's
know being present in the moment also allows you to feel your emotions, you know um because
You
if we
had
don't.
said I don't wanna forget, and
No, you're
as
fine.
you had said something about, um, when you do, some days, um, it's just too much having to deal
Yeah.
with everything else going on in your life, and then
Yeah.
coming home and you're having to do that, and feelings come up. Sometimes you just
You have
choose
to
to
stuff them.
stuff them.
Yeah.
There's knowing when it's good to face them and having that time and space and knowing when to stuff them, and I
Absolutely.
wanna see, how you,
Well,
decipher the 2 for
I
you.
mean, for me, obviously, if I'm just completely drained of all my energy, both physically and emotionally, I'm going to stuff my feelings. because I just don't have it in me to face them. But, I have that little bitty box in my head, in my brain, that I need to come back to box. I put them in there, and when I do have an opportunity to recharge, and recharges, they're different for everybody and they're different for every situation. I know this last time I took 2 days to recharge, but there's been times in the past I've taken a whole month to recharge, before I was actually able to completely focus on the emotions that I had come up. Um, so
But
there's a
it's
health,
okay
yeah,
to
it's okay
stuff
to
them.
stuff.
Sometimes you
They
got
can't
to.
stay there. Yeah,
Yeah,
they just can't stay
we're not
there.
saying you got to deal with them all the time, and that's just not
No,
realistic. I mean, a person can only take so much,
no,
and it
yeah,
goes knowing your limits, right? Knowing,
yeah, knowing your
okay,
limits.
I got to put this one aside today because I'm
Hmm.
got a full play and not judge that.
Absolutely. And being able to sit here and say, I just can't. And saying it to yourself
And that's
is
okay.
healthy. It's
And that it's
okay.
okay that you can at the moment. That's
Yeah. It
loving
doesn't mean that you're
yourself
right.
through the process.
Absolutely. It doesn't mean that you're running. Now, if you stuff it and you don't come back to it for like 3 or 4 years, that's a completely different story. That's running.
Now
And
you said
that,
something about writing too
yes, I
before.
do. I write a lot of my emotions down on the days that I know that I can't, and I write them down, and I write the date down, and I kind of write little synopsis about what happened to make me feel that way, so that I can come back to it and like, okay, now let's evaluate this, and I kind of replay it in my head, and then I just kind of sit there and I analyze it, not over analyze it, not start questioning myself, but trying to figure out why that emotion came up and what that emotion was trying to tell me. Because your emotions are the biggest communicator for you. Most people, they think that anger is a bad thing. Well, it's not a bad thing. The way you react out of anger is a bad thing, but anger in itself is, it's a learning tool for you to sit here and say, wait a minute, why do I get angry about this situation? And to understand, you get to sit
That's
here and you get
great.
to talk about it with yourself to figure out why you got angry. And with what we've been through, dealing with our emotions is a big thing, because we get so
Allowing
scared.
them,
Yes,
allowing
allowing them.
yourself to feel them, admit that something's bothering you is huge. It's
Yes,
like, man, as soon as you admit it, even that it's bothering you, you feel better.
yes,
Even just
you.
admitting, I am hurting, I am angry, and accepting and loving yourself through the process,
Mhm.
saying it's okay to be angry. It's okay.
It's okay.
It's okay. And the writing, I think, is incredible because you could come back to that
Hmm.
when you because this stuff is so deep and there's so many layers that you lose track of it. So when you're
Hmm.
writing it down, you go, oh yes, that's it. It
That's it. I
it
remember
really is
that.
so helpful to write if you can. Now, it's not for
Yeah.
everyone.
No.
Sometimes if you wanna record it into a recorder, if that's easier
Absolutely.
than
I
writing,
I
fine,
mean,
whatever works.
sing it out too, write a song, sing it out, whatever
That's
works for
awesome.
you. But, because I mean, how do you think some of the greatest songs were ever made?
I love that.
Bingo.
Now you're yes, that's how I wrote songs. I mean, the and a lot of times the most incredible thing too is and don't plan it, don't judge your writing, just write.
No, just
Whatever's
right.
feeling, there's no right or wrong, there's no, like, nobody don't just let yourself be true in the moment and let it out. I mean, some of the greatest
Oh,
songs were ever written, you'll hear artists say that it came out.
it's like,
It just they didn't
it
edit it.
yeah, it wasn't supposed to happen that way, but it was great.
But it was great, right? Yeah, exactly. I mean, I know that's true for myself. I mean, a lot of times I didn't even know something was in me till I would just be jamming with musicians and the lyrics would come and I go, wow, where did that
Yeah,
come from?
yeah.
So this is great. I love that. And I hope I'm not
No,
skipping over any of the things that you
no,
wanted to go over. I'm just kind of
no. We're just kind of going with the flow right now,
going
so
with the flow here.
it's perfectly fun.
The
You know, I
sorry, go
I
ahead.
do I do have, some video channels on YouTube that I would actually love to recommend people. There are a lot of books out there, but I myself have not found any books that were helpful for me. Doesn't mean that they're not going to be helpful for other people, but these are the channels that I've actually found that actually do, on those days that I'm just having the hardest time just making it through the day. And, I need a little bit of understanding about what I'm going through. Because even though, I'm 33 years old and I've been doing this my entire life, I still have those days where I'm just like, I'm doing everything wrong. I don't know what to do with my hands, As Psych to Go is one of the groups, one of the videos that I would recommend to anybody. And they don't just talk about narcissistic abuse. I mean, they talk about a lot of stuff. So it's a good, valuable, resource to have, not just for going through, narcissistic abuse and, dealing with post-traumatic stress syndrome from it, but just growing in general. They're really good and they share a lot of valuable information. Dr. Romani, she is amazing. And most of her channel is dedicated to narcissistic, tendencies and the inner workings of the narcissistic brain. And then you have surviving narcissism. And that channel is actually dedicated to helping you live through it, helping you come out the other side a stronger person, and helping you understand what's happening and how you can cope with it, how you can change the situation. To be honest with you, I at least once a week turn those on and I'm watching them because, it's good to have that reminder.
Helps so much.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. I've mentioned this in previous podcasts. I'm part of a couple of groups on Facebook, and they're great because they're actual victims that are supporting each other and talking in great depth of their various scenarios that they're dealing with. And I love it because I see everybody helping each other and supporting each other and sharing resources. So if you're on Facebook, I recommend looking those up. The one that I'm with is Covert Narcissism, which is particularly the abusive narcissist, because we all have narcissistic traits, that we learn from society. But the covert one is particularly helpful in helping you recover, like you said, and support and providing a support system for yourself and others. And then there's one other Dr. Sherry Campbell. She's on Facebook and she specializes in narcissism and narcissistic abuse, and it's fabulous. So those are my resources that I wanted to offer since you were mentioning yours. So what else here? I feel like there might be something else here that we wanted to cover before we end this segment. Let's see here. I think for me, the one that I was wondering is like, how we talked about giving away your power in these situations to the narcissist. And I've said this before, I'm going to do a segment on it. It's just so, it's got a lot of particulars, so I'm still working on it, but don't fill in the blanks. And I wanted to kind of put this into the viewers out there of, in any situation, how you can deal with a narcissist is to minimize conversation. I know you do that.
Absolutely.
And, offer as little information as possible, because that's what they use. Anything they can get their hands on, be protective of, and be as private as you can. Of course, you can't do it all the time, but I found that to be extremely helpful. And when you do have to reply, brevity, short and sweet. and, diffused, just matter of fact, answer the question or whatever. Or you can even say, I don't know, or whatever. Just minimize giving the narcissist any additional information where you're concerned for your
Absolutely.
life, even in any way, shape, or form.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I'm thinking, I think we've covered pretty much everything on this particular subject. So is there anything else you want to add before we close the show?
I would just really, I would urge everyone that is having to live in this situation to sit down and truly ask yourself why you're trying to live up to this person's expectations. Why is this person's expectation so important to you? And, because that is one of the biggest ways that you can give away your power is by trying to meet their bar. Because unfortunately, that bar is never going to be able to be met. As soon as you start reaching that bar, they're going to already raise it. They will have already raised it without you even realize. They've just got a dummy bar over here, just making you think. And so I really urge anybody who has to be in this type of environment to truly sit down and ask yourself why you feel the need to live up to this person's expectation, and have that real talk with yourself. And it's okay if you can't have it yet, but ask yourself that question, because
it's powerful.
It's one of the biggest ways that we give away our power. We live to other people's expectations, and we do that because we were trained to do that from this environment.
And it's reinforced in society.
Absolutely.
All the time. I mean, you look at commercials and buy this lip gloss and do this to be, considered good enough.
Wear that, look this way.
Yeah. Start this diet program, or, buy this perfume or buy this makeup or get the lip collagen or whatever. So much of our society is about looking outside for acceptance. So when you're dealing with this truth, it's really hard because, it's just,
it's so ingrained. It
such
really
a big
is
part of society, that to look to what do I think,
Yes.
how do I feel about this,
Yes.
And I am good enough,
Yes.
And especially with the negative self-talk, we talked about that. Anything that you're saying to yourself that is why are you saying that to yourself?
Yes.
And if you don't want anyone else saying it, why are you saying it, to
the
yourself?
Next question is it actually you saying it, or is it somebody else's voice saying it is it somebody else saying it in your voice? Because that happens too.
Oh, yes.
We can totally take on somebody else's viewpoint of us, and it will totally transition into our own voice, and it just becomes us. And that's not always the case. So it's one of those, don't always trust your voice in your head, because it may not be you.
It's just old stuff that you've heard from your childhood. And even you hear it now, things that people will say that aren't nice will stay with you. And just loving yourself through everything. That, I know that sounds really corny, but being patient with yourself when you don't honor your boundaries. That's okay too,
Absolutely. It is okay to not be perfect. Absolutely.
Yes. Exactly. That's an excellent way to close the show.
You're not going to be perfect. You're going to have days where you're going to walk around kicking yourself in the butt. You're going to have days where you question your own sanity. You're going to have days where you question if you can even do what it is that you think you want to do. But guess what? That's okay. We're human. That's part of the human experience, is just letting the emotions come and allowing those feelings and those emotions to come up when they do, and not stuffing them back down, is a huge thing.
When you have a safe time and place to do it.
Yes.
And if you can't, that's okay. It's okay. Make a note of it. And again, writing is really great, because you can you can revisit those words and you can see the progress you're making.
Absolutely.
I
And
think
then
that's
who knows? You can write so much that you do start to develop a new self-talk for yourself. And then you finally get to say those things out loud. And that's powerful if it happens that way too. It's powerful if it doesn't,
yes,
but it's
yes.
powerful if it does.
I love that. Perfect. Thank you, Anna. We are going to be doing another show, and stay tuned for that. In the meantime, I'm wishing everybody a lovely evening, or day, if it's day where you are, and I'll look forward to having another show real soon here. Thank you,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Thank you, Anna. All
Thank
right.
you. Bye.
Bye.